Hello, everybody. This is Lisa, one singing lady Gilliam with your LLG random but real Wednesday word on Word Wednesday. I am so excited to have you all join me for my regular Wednesday live. So I'm gonna do things a little bit differently. I was having some conversations with some of my friends, and although I have this platform, I don't ever talk about myself like as far as like products and stuff. And with the changes because of the pandemic, I ordered some CDs and then I stopped gigging. And so I want to show y'all that I actually have a CD, like for real, a hard copy. But now my website, which is actually in the chat, www.lisalgilliam.com. You can go there and you're able to download or purchase this CD from there, as well as any of my other tracks that I've ever put out. And so please do that. And before we move forward, don't forget, like right now, like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube page so that we can continue to do more things like this. And we just want to, share it with other people. So today I'm excited because I have my friend Aiysha. Wasn't that a song? I think it was a song.
ABC.
So I know it probably didn't go like that, but I have my friend Aiysha Perry on here, and we met because of Monica Swan. Both of us work in, or well, actually did. I was a counselor at the time, not now, but she still is. The mental health field, and you all know how passionate I am about mental health. And this is, I don't know how many years, maybe 2 or 3 years. Did we?
Probably 3.
Okay, so we'll take that. We'll take 3. And so I met her through Monica. So thank you, Monica. And we just had like-minded like hearts and just kind of connected. And so I'm going to allow her to introduce herself to you all in the way that she sees fit.
Hello, everyone. I'm Aiysha Perry. Like Lisa mentioned, we met a few years back. We were working on some things in stigma, in mental health, specifically in the church. And that is something that we're both really passionate about. So we began doing some work together and collabing. So here we are today doing that again. So I'm happy to be here and excited to support her on her show. And hopefully you all will visit her website, like, comment, share, and support her as she, really, really does a good work in the community. She also has a beautiful, beautiful voice. So if you can support her, that would be awesome.
That would be awesome. So if you want what I'm doing, I multitask, I read comments, and then I also try to during the live actually share it again because I didn't get a chance to do that. So if you get a chance to do that as well, that's cool. I guess I can try to tag you. I'm gonna try to tag you in the post so that it'll show up on your page, but you're welcome to share it too. So I'm gonna say join us now. So I am very informal. You will find that out. We are going to have a good time. I'm not, concerned about that. But so I guess maybe me, maybe you, I don't know, entitled this program or this episode to be I Am Not My Hair.
All you.
Yeah. Oh, it was me.
It was all you.
I'll take it because we were trying to find, we have so many different things that we talk about and within mental health that we were trying to find something that was different. And if you notice, anybody that's been watching these, I try to find a different topic every week, or it's a different person every week. So if it is the same topic, it's still different in, because each person's different. Yeah. And so, as you can see, I'm blonde and natural now, but in my pictures, if you go to YouTube, when you first clicked on the live, my hair was purple. I miss my purple hair and it was short. And I was just like, it's hair. It just grows back. And one of the things that Aiysha said was what? Or it doesn't.
It doesn't
right.
always grow.
And that's kind of how we got. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I was talking about me. But the reality is that that's not the case for everybody. And so I was like, we should talk about like mental health and like hair loss and like the combination or the connection. And so could you just give us a little bit of your story? Because everybody can't rock a bald head, but you do, my sister.
Thank you. So I have alopecia. And I first noticed that my hair was thinning when I was a senior in undergrad.
Wow.
So I mean, it was like 97, 98, years ago. And I had treated my hair terrible. So, we were permanent, a lot of heat damage, a lot of tension with braids, because back in the day, we braided everything.
True.
We didn't treat our edges the way we should back in the day. It was like we prided ourselves on catching every little hair. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of tension that and a lot of stress that I had put my hair follicles through. But I also didn't know at the time that I had it ran in the family, thinning hair in the women and things like that.
Okay.
So I noticed it and I was like, okay, it's not a big deal. I'm stressed. It's senior year. I got this little baby. I'm trying to, push through. I didn't think very much of it. At that time, I was still getting perms. But I noticed I was going to a stylist and she said, Aiysha, your hair is beginning to thin a little bit at the crown, kind of like your mom's, because she did both of our hair. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. So then
Right.
I started thinking about it a little differently. Um, Fast forward, I would say, by 30, it had gotten to a point where it was pretty evident that, I was losing my hair. So I was able to find stylists that would cover it for me. But through this process, I was so self-conscious. Um, I'd already had self-esteem issues, body image issues. So this was another thing, your hair styling in the African American community, it's like $1 billion industry. It's a big deal, and we put a lot into our appearance, and our hair is a lot of that. So I was feeling, not attractive. So I would do things that would really. So I wore really nice braids. I shout out to my stylists. They were always very creative. My braiders and all of those things, they were able to cover it up. So fast forward a little bit more, and I believe that I would say I was married. I got married. My hair was doing pretty much okay then because I got married in my 20s, but I went natural. I
Okay.
went natural, and that's my hair thrived a little bit more then. So it wasn't that noticeable and things like that. But people back then, it was like natural hair wasn't the thing. They were like, "Oh, what you gonna do with your hair? Oh, you doing that?" So I felt pressure. Again, I have self-image issue, body image issues, things like that. I'm like, well, when I got pregnant, I was feeling unattractive and all these things. So I decided to perm my hair again.
Wow.
And that was like the last perm that I had gotten. I think that was one of the last ones that I had gotten. And it had done some damage.
You
Um,
said that was around 30?
that was around, I had my last kid at 28, 30, something around, definitely about 28.
Okay.
So the timeline is kind of off for me, but I do really remember feeling like people can't see. And I remember, like, in between getting my hair done, I didn't want my husband to see what my head looked like. So I don't even think that he really saw it at the time, my ex-husband. And one time I was taking it out, my daughter came in and she asked me, she was like 9, 8. She asked me if I had cancer. And I felt so embarrassed. So it was a source of just pain for me, and shame for me. And it was like, when you're dealing with other things and you have this thing on top of it, it's like a boulder. So I found, fast forward again, I found a wonderful stylist that would style my hair. You talk about your purple. Oh, my purple hair, I miss it. So she would do these weaves, and I just felt like $1,000,000. So until it got to a point where I really couldn't, no, I'm not going to say I couldn't, but I think I got to a point where I was feeling in bondage to wigs and weaves. And people would say, why don't you just cut it? but nobody knew what my head looked like, and I knew it was smooth at the top. I might have had some on the sides, but it was like nothing. So I was like, well, if I cut it all off, I'm gonna have to go completely bald. I can't just do the low boy cuts that everybody does. I have to cut it like completely off, and I don't know what my head is gonna look. I'm not ready for that.
Right.
So then I saw Black Panther. When I saw Black Panther, I'm sitting there with my kids like, oh,
it was a lot of bald heads. You
were doing it. I'm not able to pull this off. So I want to say that movie came out in the spring of 2018.
Okay.
And I shaved all my hair off the fall of that year.
Yes, I remember you calling me. You were like, Lisa, you were getting ready to Celebrate Life. And you were like, I just want, I didn't want you to be concerned. And I wouldn't have been, but I was like, thanks for sharing. But you know what I'm saying? And I was like, it looks really nice on you. I don't know if I could do it. I don't know. I don't really have like an even head, I don't feel. So I don't think it would be as becoming, you know what I mean? But then I remember when I can't relate in the sense of having alopecia or something like that, but I do know what it felt like and how freeing it was when I went from relaxer to just cutting it off. You know what I'm saying? And this way after NDRE came out with I Am Not My Hair, but then I also know for some people, it was still like, I remember a friend joking, she was like, you were all power to the people and now you got like hair again. Like I'm always changing up my hair. And so people's perceptions can be really difficult. So how did you deal with people's perceptions either before or after?
I would say before, when like, it was those moments when if the wind blew a certain way, the truth would be revealed. When I had my weaves on. So I'd be like outside, like, trying to hold it. Because if it blew back, you see a few things. And it just made me uncomfortable. And, there was an idea, because I was in a relationship when I shaved my hair. And again, I'm very self-conscious. And I mentioned it because I had been thinking about it. And I was like, so what would you think if I shaved my hair bald? And he said, nah. And that's all he said. And I never mentioned it again. And I went to Philly for Labor Day weekend to visit a friend of mine, a really good friend. It was 3 of us that went to Philly to visit her. And out of nowhere, I said, y'all been going through a lot. And I've really been thinking about my hair. And at the time, I had been depressed. I was depressed for quite some time. And I wasn't taking care of myself. And I ended up, my hair had gotten really matted under the weave. And I felt really bad. And nobody knew, but I just had to release it. And I was telling them, I was like, I just feel it's a burden. I was like, I'm so heavy. I'm so overwhelmed. And this is just another thing that's just a burden. And I've been thinking about cutting it. And we literally processed it. We processed it over a weekend. I went there on Friday, and I want to say I mentioned it Friday night. And we talked about it Saturday. I cried. I let them know how I felt, how unattractive I felt and what it would mean for me, what I thought, what was my perception of myself and how I viewed myself and how I felt others would view me, what I needed as a woman in that moment, not as a mother, not as a partner, but what I needed and what that release would do for me. So really talking that through. And we called another girlfriend who lives bold and bald. And we were like, okay, girl, what do we need to do? Because what do we, and she kind of gave us some tips. And I was like, okay. And they were like, we're going to do this tomorrow. I'm like, okay, we're going to do it tomorrow. So on Sunday, we went to the beauty supply place. And we were still kind of talking. They were the best. I got to shout out.
I would say you have a great community.
Yeah. Jessica and Sharice. Tavera had left. Tavera was there initially, but she had to leave early, so she wasn't there on a Sunday when I actually cut it. But literally, they were like, "Come on!" We did the research. We went to the beauty supply store. We got the supplies, the oils and stuff. We got everything, and then we went to get some Philly cheesesteaks. We went to the store to get, little drinky drinks. And we came back and we did everything slow. There was nothing rushed. We
That's right.
talked through it. We put on good music. I still shared my little tears because I was afraid. And Jessica sat there and she just kind of encouraged Sharice. She took her time and she just began cutting it off. And they said, you know what? You're not going to look at it until we're finished. So she took her time and cut it and asked me, how are you doing? You feeling okay? And I'm like, I think I am. And washed it. She washed my little scalp and then put the little oil on it, Jamaican. I think it was some kind of Jamaican oil or something that they put on it. And when I went in the bathroom and looked at my head, I was so shocked that I didn't look crazy because that was a big fear. I don't know what my head is going to look like. That's what everybody said. I can't pull it off. You pull it off. I was like, that's the same thing I said. But I was like,
Oh, it's true over here. It's true.
I was like, this is not bad at all. And they were just so affirming. And I remember smiling so hard that night, my neck hurt. Like I cheesed the entire night. I felt so free.
That is
And
awesome.
it is just amazing how much power certain things hold over us and how much bondage that we're in, and we might not even know. So I always give them, their props. I have a wonderful community, and I will say that was a life-changing weekend for me because there were some things that we talked about and we worked through. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't have been able to do it that way, and I needed to do it that way. It was very restorative and cathartic, and I needed that to be a part of the process, and so I could own it. It wasn't something happening to me. It wasn't something I felt forced or challenged to do. It was something that I kind of, over that time, just kind of come to the point where I grew and developed just in talking about. I'm like, So it became a personal choice that I brought
You made
in.
a decision,
Yeah,
and
I made a decision.
empowered by your decision that you made, which
I,
is amazing.
yeah,
Um, as you know, when we're, dealing with, so for those who don't know, both Aiysha and I've had different type of mental health struggles. And one of the things that's difficult to do, especially like if you're in a state of depression, is like to make a decision about anything.
anything.
It goes along kind of with it. I want to take a pause. First of all, you're able to look at the comments. So yourself, there it should be like on mine is on the right, the top right, and it's like a screen that says comments. And so I put up some of them. Um,
Oh, I see now.
and you're able to also respond to, I forget to tell people that. And I also want to tell people that, anybody that's watching these LLG Random but Real, they are my opinion. Although I have a background in counseling, this has nothing to do with my counseling. I'm not, an expert. And sometimes I will have experts on here, but please, seek your own physician, seek your own counselors. These are just our opinions or our expressions of kind of what we have actually experienced. And I realize that more people watch the replays of these than they do maybe on the live. And so I know that, other people will be watching. I forget to say that. So I'm trying to remember the things I need to say too. So I think that it's awesome. Like, it's funny that you mentioned, not haha funny, but ironic, that you mentioned Black Panther and that you mentioned, just having that, I was saying community. And, a few videos ago, I was talking about how, just how, Chadwick Boseman had a community of people that had his back, that didn't say anything, didn't leak anything, and didn't, so it's kind of interesting. It sounds to me like you had that same type of community, people who
Yeah.
are really genuinely there with you through this process. And that in and of itself is awesome. One of the things that kind of also came to mind, because you were like, I was in a relationship back then. I kind of wonder, what does your husband now, your now husband think of just, because I see nothing but beauty. Like, you do smile wider. You do look like sunnier and happier. And,
Yeah.
but I wonder sometimes, as women, we do think about what our significant others, if we have,
Mhm.
you know, think, and how did you kind of work through that, and what does he think now of
I
you?
know it was important for me that he um approved or was okay with it. That's why it took me so long to not do it. Again, I didn't say anything to him. So
Yeah.
when I went that weekend, he was not a part of the process. It was a very personal process. So I literally came back home bald. So what I did do, I will say this, before I came home, I called my children and video with them and showed them and my parents. Um, and
You have
then
the best parents, by the way. I love them.
yes, I have awesome parents, Pastor LaJoy and Stanley. Hello. You know, I love my parents. They are very supportive.
Mm-hmm.
My mom initially was listen,
Not feel
women
it.
and their hair
We're
and
harsh.
generationally, that's not something that you do. Your hair is your crown, it's your glory, and all of these things that we put into it. So it took her a couple of days to be like, oh, okay. My father was initially like, girl, you look like me, because literally he has a bald head and we look a lot alike now. um but my now husband, then boyfriend, was kind of like, you don't think that that was something that we should have talked about?
They always think that, don't they? I digress. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, that and he was like, that was a big decision. Why you don't think that that was something? And I said, well, I asked you and you said no.
Mm.
He was like, what are you talking about? He barely remembered it. And when I explained to him everything and how it made me feel and what I was experiencing over the years and how I come to the decision, he said, if you had told me that, I would have responded differently. I didn't know all of this information, but there was so much shame there. I couldn't even verbalize it. I didn't know how to verbalize those things to him, and I didn't feel comfortable doing it yet. So I was able to do that with my circle and with my friends. So now I don't know how. Listen, I don't.
Find out and let me know.
Tells me that I'm attractive and different things like that. But I think
Clearly, you are married now, so he must be okay.
I got married bald. So I mean,
Yes.
I think that it was a very personal decision, and I still stand by it as a personal decision. And if you're going to get on board, you're going to get on board. But not that I don't care what he thinks, but at the same time, I think that I chose me in that moment, and that's something that I rarely do and had done to that point, and it was very important for me to do it. And I think he recognizes that now. He didn't appreciate it so much then, but I think
Right.
he recognizes it now, what it meant for me, and what when he sees my confidence, he said, I can see in you how much lighter you are and how much happy you are. So he did recognize that. So
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny. I have a lot of friends who I don't know their significant others. I know of him, but I don't think we haven't met ever. But I do know who he is. Like I've seen pictures, and you know what I mean, and the time that we shared. And so I think it takes a lot for. So let me preface this by saying, I do think that a lot of times when we're in relationships and we're not married, that we end up doing what we would do when we're married and we're relationship. I think if you were married, that's a different conversation because you all are supposed to be one. Not that the relationship doesn't matter when you're dating, but you are still a complete individual person. You're supposed to be that in marriage too, but I don't feel like it has the same type of weight. That's just my personal opinion. So I think that it should be, yeah, a conversation. You did have a conversation. He didn't remember, but if you were married, I feel like it's a whole total different whatever. But I also think that we have to be willing to push past our shame and our guilt and how we feel about whatever to explain to people that supposedly love us
yeah,
where we are. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And so what would you do with someone who was, or what would you say to someone who was struggling with like this decision, whether it's because of alopecia, whether it's, just because they have thinning hair for some other reason,
Mhm.
or, they're just not, they just want to make a change because of the financial costs associated with
Yeah.
their care, or, what do you say, or what would you say to someone who's just like, I wish I had the courage, the strength to make the decision Aiysha made. What would you say to them?
I think that, people make the best decisions for themselves when they're ready. I'm never one of those people that say, just cut it, just do it. Well, no, don't do that, because I don't want people to feel like they're pressured to do anything. But I asked them, what are your options? What are the options? And that was one of the things that helped me too, because I had
Sounded
to
like a school counselor. That's what you did. You just sounded just like a kid, what she is. But
I
yes.
mean, that's who I am,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But I had that helped me a lot just to
Uh-huh.
know what my options are. And I kept telling myself, Aiysha, if you look crazy, you can always put a wig on. And then when it
Mhm.
grows back to a place, you can get weaves again. So just do it, right? This is what helped me, along with everything that happened that weekend, to be like, what's the worst that could happen? It doesn't look right. You put a wig on. You've worn wigs before. It's not a big deal. That's what
Right.
helped me. But one of the things that I try to tell people is, I ask them, what are your options?
Mhm.
And what's most important to you? Like, what do you think that the benefits of cutting your hair would be? What do you think some of the challenges would be with that? And find a nice wig when you're ready. Find a nice wig that you like, one that you're comfortable with, maybe one that you've worn before. Keep it close by. Do what you do, cut your hair, whatever. If you like it, rock with it. If you're
Right.
not too okay with it, put the wig on. It's okay, but it needs to be what you need it to be. And just because other people are making this quote unquote bold decision to cut their hair, shave their hair bald, doesn't mean that you have to do that. It just
Absolutely.
means that that's another option for you. Now you have another option. And I appreciate this option. And I didn't realize it as much as an option for me until I saw Black Panther. And representation is everything. To
Absolutely.
see those women just being represented that strong, that powerful, looking that good with no hair, I've never seen that before. So it
Mhm.
opened up another option for me that I didn't think that I had for myself previously. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's awesome. Art imitates life. I remember my counselor in grad school would say that all the time. And for you, it did. It imitated life. You were able to see, some of your options by what you saw, on the big screen.
Mhm.
Tell me, like, what do you feel like some of the correlations or some of the issues that you might have had as far as mental health with this option to now become bald?
I think that for me, my hair, I kind of hid behind it. It sounds weird, but it was almost like a safety. I don't know. It kind of covered me up. And
Mhm.
with no hair, I just felt wide open. I can't hide anything. I just felt like, okay, so it forced me to deal with some of the things that I was experiencing. It
Wow.
forced me to kind of look at myself differently and challenge why I was looking at myself in a bad way in the first place. Because I couldn't really hide in a sense anymore. Um,
Mhm.
so I think that was kind of the connection there, is that I began to feel so good about myself, then it helped me to look at other things and other issues and address other things. But it also helped me empower people in a different way,
Mhm.
and to kind of nurture that in other people in a different way. So I will say that I feel like I did a little more work um, on myself at that time. And like I said, I was coming off of a the depression was serious. That was an interesting time for me. So it was like, if you can imagine the Wiz, and at the end when they start pulling off their bodies and they catch you, feel a brand new day. It felt like that, you know.
Yeah.
And when you are uncovered in that way, it's kind of like, I don't know, it just felt, things were clearer. I felt lighter, and it made room. It made room for me to love on myself a little differently. It made room for me to see myself a little differently and challenge myself a little differently. So things began happening pretty fast, as far as speaking engagements, as far as me working to leave my job, you
Mhm.
know, things started really happening, getting married and, going into private practice. And I'm not saying all of this happened because I cut my hair magically, but I will say that it happened as a result of
Being free.
me choosing me in a way that I'd never chosen myself before,
Mhm.
and that becoming something that was, easier for me to do. But for me to choose myself, I had to work through some things mentally. I had to challenge some fears, just some of those the stinking thinking that I still struggle with, but I recognize those things differently now. So I do think that that was a pivotal part of me just entering to another season of my life, and really working on myself in a different way.
I think that that's awesome. It's powerful. And, like I said, a lot of females have a difficulty just with cutting their hair, just or going natural. And you went beyond. And, what I'm saying? The confidence definitely shows. I think that it's hard to travel through life in bondage, period. Mental, emotional, physical. And for you, if you were in a state where you were hiding, behind your hair, because no one, well, I should say everybody didn't know. I mean, there were some people that might have known or whatever, but maybe everybody didn't know the whole complete state. That I get how it would seem like I'm free now. I'm actually a brand new person because there is no other covering, and so I know the hair is supposed to be a covering, whatever, but like just like anything else, if there's an illness or a sickness or a disease or problem, then you do what you have to do to solve that problem so that you can still live. You know what I mean? Just diabetics sometimes have to get their, hands or feet or whatever cut off so that they can save the rest of their body. You know what I mean? And I liken it to that. It's like for you cutting off your hair, it saved you.
Mm.
You, number one. And I sound like a counselor in a session, but I'm not trying to. But we do what we do, Aiysha. But you know what I'm saying? It saved you from you, but we never are blessed just for ourselves. We're never healed or delivered, set free just for ourselves. And so I think that we all can learn from everybody's lesson. I don't have to go through the exact same thing to learn from the lessons that you learn. So I appreciate that. I appreciate what you've shown. And so, she's such a talented person, y'all. Y'all don't know. She's really, really talented. So outside of like counseling and therapy and speaking and whatever, she is also an artiste. Please tell us about what you do with your artistry.
Well, I interesting story. I found out a few years back that I think it was probably like 2016, maybe something like it wasn't that long ago. That my ex-husband's sister, my sister. I don't even call her sister-in-law. My sister, Shelly, she had this art activity thing at her house, and I was like, "Girl, I don't paint." She was like, "Just come anyway." I'm like, "Okay, I'm just coming because you're doing it." And I enjoyed it. I like really enjoyed it. So I started going to paint nights, these sipping paints and things like that. Then I'm like, well, you know what? These things are expensive. I can do this at home. So I got canvases, and I started doing it at home, and it became, really good self-care, and it's the way I cope. I had a really, kind of stressful job. So that's kind of what I use. So then somebody was like, "What?" I started using it in my therapy at work, and then started hosting paint nights with some of the ladies at work. And somebody was like, "If you're doing this at work, maybe you can do paint parties." So then I started doing paint parties, and it was fun, and it was a nice side hustle. So last Saturday was my first virtual paint party because, to be honest, when I left my job last December, the last day of work, I think I did a paint party or something like that, or the last night that I worked there, and I hadn't painted since. And with COVID, I had no desire to paint. It just kind of left me. I couldn't find people like, "Are you painting?" I'm like, absolutely not. I didn't have the energy for it. So, and that was a whole mental thing. COVID was a lot. That's a whole nother session. But anyway, and it still is, but just being in the house in that way.
Yeah.
So I didn't do any painting, but I was thinking about it. I was like, somebody mentioned, what about a virtual painting? I'm like, no, I don't feel like doing that. And then somebody called me, and she is in a church group, Jules Ministry, and I did a paint activity for them last November to kick off their conference. So she's like, it's a lot going on. Some of the ladies need something positive to do. And I was just wondering if you could do, what do you think about a virtual paint night? And I was like, I was just thinking about that. She was like, that's God, that's confirmation. I was like, all right, let's do it. So we did it. And last Saturday was the first time we did it. It went really well. And we used it as an opportunity to kind of just fellowship. It was like a big group therapy session, and we painted through, and it was really good. So that is something that I'm going to begin to do virtually, um, at least once a month, to kind of keep people connected, but also give folks something else to do to cope through these interesting times that we're experiencing. You know, with the election, with the pandemic, with all of the racial climate, everything. Is just so much going on. So I think that it would be a good thing for folks to do, and I really enjoyed it too. So I can get that, just get something therapeutic done at the same time, because it's kind of like, wow, they're doing it, I'm doing it too, and it's very relaxing. I mean, it feels good to be around people and talk with people and laugh and paint and create. So
You
yeah,
all were on like Zoom or Google Meet or something like
it's
that.
on Zoom. I
Okay.
did the last one on Zoom. And yeah, so what happened was she brought it to me. So I'm trying to see if I'm going to begin to kind of say, hey, I'm going to host this on this night. You know, you all can register through PayPal and just do it that way, or just wait for people to come to me and do groups. I'll figure it out. I'm not too sure, but people have already been inboxing me about.
That's good. I think, girl, we can try to run from the gifts and stuff that God has given us. That's kind of how I feel like singing. Because I was talking to a friend of mine. She was just like, I thought you didn't want to sing anymore. And I was like, I don't, but I do. Because
Mm,
me to do it, so I can't not do it, but I just don't feel like doing it because of all of the grief and the turmoil and stuff that I'm dealing with. But then
yeah,
I hear a good singer and I'm like, I want to sing.
yeah,
Competition, because it encourages me and it's therapeutic for me. And I want to write, I want to get it all out. So I'm glad to hear that you're using another gift that God has given you, and it's therapeutic. And so, like, yeah, you can try to run again, but it's gonna come back up in some other way. I we were talking before this call. I had a friend who, David Brown, and I don't mind shouting out, my friends that died either early this morning, I believe, and
mhm,
yesterday was the 3rd year anniversary of my mom's death. And so I've had all these different emotions, kind of running through. But what David's death reminded me of, because he went to high school with me too, is just, I don't want to leave this world not having emptied everything out that God has poured in me, and there's
yeah,
more for me to do,
yeah.
And so I'm very, very happy to hear that you're doing it. Because sometimes, y'all, I'm older than her. She don't listen to me. Nobody listens to me. I told her I was like, it's gonna be great. Yes, you're gonna do this. Didn't I say that? I did say that. Those are my words, right? I didn't say it on here live. Did I say that?
You did.
I did. Okay, so, and sometimes we gotta have other people to encourage us in the process. So is it anything that you want to share? Because we didn't really dive deep into mental health. It doesn't have to be that. We, talked about how it's affected things, whatever. Is it anything that you want to share with anybody that might be watching now, or that might be watching this later, that will encourage them through whatever process they're,
Mm. Yeah.
they're in?
Yeah, when I was talking to a group earlier, and one of the things that the first thing I said to them was like, you are not alone. No matter what you're going through, there is someone who has experienced it, is experiencing it at the time, and it's important that you find someone that you trust, that you're able to express how you're feeling with.
Mhm.
And if it's not anybody in your circle, or that you trust, with the people that you want to know, reach out to a therapist, a counselor, a life coach, someone in your religious, spiritual community, someone that you can talk to, because I guarantee you, if you're able to get it out and find someone that you can get support from, you'll begin to feel better. Because sometimes what happens is we convince ourselves that no one will understand, and we're by ourselves. Our anxiety and our depression tells us all of these lies, and we begin to believe them. So just to really push yourself out there and seek that support, because a lot of times my family, people they would have reached out if I had said something, but they didn't know, because I
Right.
wasn't communicating it to them. So understanding that you're not alone, and then seeking support when you can. Another thing is, if it's not to that point, try to develop a routine, whatever that routine may be. In the morning, if it's, oh, I drink this tea, I listen to this music, I do yoga, I meditate, I do cycling, I walk, whatever it is that you do in the morning that's just for you. And even if you don't do it in the morning, you do it in the evening. I think a daily routine is important because a daily routine makes you feel like you have control of something. There's so many things that is happening around us in this world that we have zero control over. And that can make us feel very, very powerless. And I think it's important to figure out and find ways that we can be empowered to kind of feel that support and feel that connectedness and to feel in control. So just finding a routine, I think, is something really, really important as well. Um, but I think that those are three things that you're not alone. Seek support and create a routine. I also think that people should really look at being making adjustments. We're so used to how we do things and we've done things. When this whole COVID and pandemic thing happened, we were like, what in the world? Like, what are we about to do now? Really, that pivot, accepting that these are how things are now, and then pivoting, making adjustments around that. What does that look like? Somebody was saying earlier, I used to be able to meditate for 15, 20 minutes at a time. Now I can only do it by about a minute or 2 minutes. I'm like, make that minute or those 2 minutes count.
Right.
That's your adjustment. And that's okay.
Right. And I added on there to be okay with making the adjustment because we could make them but not be okay. It's hard for us sometimes. It's hard for me sometimes to be content in that place that I'm in.
Yeah.
So I think, and these are your tips, just so you know, I did them out of order, but I want to make sure that I put them on the screen so people can actually see them.
Yeah.
But no, I think that those are good. Definitely.
But that was another thing too, is like along with being okay with, it's kind of like giving yourself permission, but it's being compassionate with yourself and giving yourself grace and space to navigate through things. Sometimes we are so hard on ourselves and we are our worst critics. And some of the ways we talk to ourselves, we would never talk to people in that way.
Right.
And it's kind of like, why not give yourself the same compassion and the same love that you give to everyone else? You wouldn't come at nobody else like that and be like, girl, what is wrong with your hair? Why are you so fat? You are lazy. You don't talk to anybody else like that. Why would you talk to
Hopefully
yourself?
Not. Hopefully not. Yes. But
I mean, hopefully not, but for most people, they don't.
Right.
They would think that was rude and that was not okay, so why is that okay for you? So, just showing yourself compassion, I think is, important as well.
I agree. So before we get off, can you tell, and actually if you could, I would like for you to put it in the chat too, to put your social media where you would like for people to contact you, whether it's because they're interested in doing some virtual painting or when COVID's over, painting in person, or
I'm trying to see where I can put a comment. I'm a little
comment. You got it. That's all right. I'll be talking right now while you're doing it. And then that's either Facebook or Instagram or whichever you use as your main source. We definitely want you to put that out there. And I hope that you all that are watching either now or later will actually contact Aiysha to get her to do some of the events, for you. She does speaking engagements as well. Just a really nice person. And
thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome. It's true though. And open about, just some of the things that she's experienced. So and it's not easy. It's not easy being on this side. But it gets easier, I think. So sorry, I didn't mean to show that. That was earlier.
I don't know how to put in a comment.
So do you see where it says comments?
Yes.
This is normal, y'all. So just click that.
I did. And I see all the comments on the side.
And at the bottom, it doesn't say post a comment?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I don't know why.
Not on my screen, sorry.
No, it's because I gave permission for you to be able to do it. So
it's not down there.
Okay. All right. Well, then tell me what it is so I can write it
down. So my email is Aiysha, AIY.
Just so you know, it's going to be all over the World Wide Web.
That's okay. Aiysha, AIYSHA .Whittaker, WHITTAKER @gmail.com. Oh, so you can do it. And my practice, where I work with Dr. Lenise Stevens, who is a powerhouse. The website there is www.hopefulcounseling.org.
Okay.
And we have a group of talented clinicians there, um, that can
So
really help
located
you.
in Southern Maryland?
So we have a location in Lanham, and then there is a location in Southern Maryland, which is White Plains. In White Plains, but we're also offering teletherapy. So
Okay.
telehealth, yeah. So that's an option too. If you don't want to go to either of those locations, telehealth is an option.
Okay. And then do you want to give out your social media?
I'm not a really, like I told you, I'm working on that. So I think that if anyone wants to kind of connect with me through either counseling, they have questions, or they want to do painting, the email they can get through with me, through to me, get the information to me, and I can get back with them. But I'm in the process of getting all of my social media stuff
No
together.
problemo. Okay. Is there anything else that you want to say before we
No,
go?
I'm just really happy to be here. I'm so glad to have this opportunity to again share part of my story. Hopefully, it would will help someone else, and it has blessed someone else, and given someone else, just the kind of encouragement that they may need. I feel like I am a living testimony, and I hope that the things that I've been through, and I've experienced through me sharing it, it has impact. So I take one. I always say, if I had to take one for the team, I'll take one for the team. So if I had to experience this to bless someone else, so be it. I'm okay with it. But one thing I'm not going to do is hold on to it and keep it to myself. So I'm glad for opportunities like this to put it out there and to share.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So again, we would like for you to please like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube page. It's youtube.com, One Singing Lady, and that's spelled out ONESINGINGLADY. You can find me on all social media platforms. Well, not all, that's not even true. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at One Singing Lady, the number one. And then please, again, I need y'all to go to my website, www.lisalgilliam.com, and purchase my CD, Depend. It's not over. On my screen, it's over. So I guess because it's a split screen. But y'all can go to the website and you can see the whole CD case yourself. But thank you, Aiysha, letting me know. That's what happens when you have a split screen. So I do hope that you all have learned something through this process. You aren't alone. We aren't alone, even when we feel like it. And, even on social media, this should probably process. Sometimes it takes the night and it's up tomorrow. But if you have the direct link that was posted on my social media pages, then you'll be able to just play it right away. So if you know someone that could learn or benefit from this, please have them do this. I do these posts right now every Wednesday, 6 p.m. live, different topics. We have someone talking about loneliness coming up, and that's a male. So I'm excited about that. We are going to be talking about being barren, which is something that's, I'm really excited about. We have a show talking about empathy, because I don't think we're empathetic enough. And you don't have to be a counselor to be empathetic. Like, we should be empathetic people, I feel like. We have businesses coming up. We just have a plethora of things. And like I said, I started doing this just in September for Suicide Prevention Month. And now we are full until December, except for maybe one Wednesday, which I'll find out Friday if that's a go. So God is doing something in this, and I pray that you all are blessed. Oh, one other thing, please go, and thank you, Aiysha, for your comment on my guest book. Please go to the website and fill out the guest book. There are days when you struggle, especially with any type of a mental health diagnosis or even undiagnosed. And there are days that I get depressed or I'm just sad or down. I read what people have to say about how they've been blessed by these, either the concerts or the live shows or even these on YouTube. And so it is a blessing to me and even for the guests that are on here. So please go to my website and, fill out the guest book and just let me know that you learned something or that you can share it with somebody else. And I'm sure that Aiysha will want to know that something that she shared today was a blessing to other people too. So thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it. One Singing Lady out. Have a great night. Aiysha, you can just hold on.